Good afternoon and welcome to the Finance and Capital Management Committee meeting. Today we have with us the committee members, Member Harrison and Member Dr. Molinar. So if we could have a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes, I would appreciate it.
Motion to approve previous meeting minutes.
So moved.
So that's a second from Member Harrison. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. So we're going to start with our agenda here. I see no one is here that has requests to address the board. So we would hear from our Treasurer Bauer, our official Treasurer Bauer. And we would hear from him and the requests and the September finance report. Welcome, Treasurer.
Thank you, President, or Chairman Sykes, Reverend Harrison, Dr. Molinar. Nice to see you. I apologize for the chaos at the start. I literally spent all day working on this stuff and still just didn't get to the deadline on time. So we'll jump right into the financial report. Okay. More technical difficulties, I apologize. So we're now 25% of the year, 25% through the school year. 3 months in, our first quarter has ended. We are now starting to see that the numbers are going to reflect the forecast a little more closely. Up until now, we've seen some weird variances where we were looking like we're maybe going to have some money at the end of the year that we didn't say we were going to have. So now it's tightened up a little bit. So we'll go through how that shakes out. In the top three tiles there, this is showing our revenues, expenditures, and cash balances for September of this year versus September of '24. And you can see that our revenue this year was up $23.7 million this year. Expenditures are down 7.9 compared to last year, which is and our cash balance is 14.2 higher. Now this seems again like I'm talking, in circles, but we did pass that levy in November of '24 last year. That's why that revenue is so much higher. We're monitoring our expenses very closely right now with the current climate. And we didn't make a big textbook purchase earlier this summer. So we'll talk about the details of these a little bit more, but this is why our cash balance is where it is. And the next set of tiles there is the same information, but for the whole quarter. Our revenue is trending 6.7 higher. Expenditures are down, and our net potential trend is 12.4, but we're going to see very shortly that we're actually on pace to meet this. So I apologize. This is not the PDF I need right here. This here, this June 30 cash balance is incorrect. That is not where we're going to end up. In your paper documents you have in front of you is the correct version. So we're actually going to be spending down to 78.
So 78?
Yeah.
Page 3 of the
Okay, we got it. Mhm. We'll be able to follow it. So that's at 78,413,961.
Correct.
Okay, we
Yeah,
can follow
so
it.
I worked Friday afternoon on this with our consultant and did not get this link updated apparently. So back to that slide, that bottom section there. Those blue and gray bar graphs show our cash balance over the last 2 years. Gray is last year, blue is this year. The blue has come up through September. You can see that spike. We're at about 138 million in the general fund right now.
Yes.
It's going to start to decline now because we've received our fall property tax amounts. We will no longer, we've collected all of that so far. That's our second half amount. Now we're going to start spending that down, and then you can see it'll start to go back up again in February, March, April. That's when we'll receive our first half of next year. It'll somewhat mitigate that decline, and then we'll start to level off at the end of the year there. So here's the revenue detail. You can see our local tax collections, like we've been saying, are up. This is showing the month to date versus the prior year in more detail. Our local taxes are up 4.2 million, which is most of that $5.3 million difference. We've also seen some state revenue come in that we weren't expecting necessarily. More in homestead and rollback came in. You can't gauge when that's going to come in or how much, so that was a nice surprise. This is again is the detail through the quarter, so it's just showing the first 3 months, and that's where that 23,781,000 is broken down into 3 categories: our property tax, state, and all other revenue. And again, it's the property tax driving that up, along with that homestead and rollback. So this page here are our expenses in detail, more detail. Salaries and wages are down negligibly at 266. The total we're down is about 1.22 overall, which is, when you're looking at 33 million, the only thing to really point to there is possibly we're still hiring staff for the year, so we're a little bit low on that side for salaries and benefits.
No, you're right. Okay.
I'm sorry, we're at the bottom of page 5 now.
Right, good, okay.
For the quarter, so this is expenses for the quarter. So we're down, we're off 7.9 million from our estimate. That's actually lower. So like I said earlier, we didn't make a big textbook purchase earlier in the year. Last year we made one in July of $3.8 million. And Deb has assured me that we are monitoring our buildings and grounds very, very closely this year. So we're down about $2 million over there too. So that makes up most of that variance there. Now this page is comparing the cash, these financial reports to our forecast, our 5-year forecast. And you can see that we are, so this will have to go off our,
Yeah, this one is a
off the
bit
paper
different.
report.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, because when I looked at this, it's like, guys, this cannot be right. So you can see after we reviewed and entered in our forecast data to match what we, to line up better with what we have here, we are now trending about 717,000 off. And when you compare that to our $377 million in revenue, it's about 0.1%. So we're very, very close there. Same thing on the expenditure side. It's even better. We're only off 431,000 there. So our estimates are very close to what we were saying they were going to be through the first quarter of the year. I went through that very quickly. And are there any questions on any of that so far?
So the 707,328 that we originally. Which number is correct? The number we see on the screen?
No, this here.
The number
The
that we see
papers,
here?
it's the
Right.
stuff in front of you.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay,
I literally ran upstairs to put this version on this drive, and I
Okay.
don't know what happened. I'm
well,
sorry.
we normally work on if something can go wrong, it will, so
Yeah.
that's
Thank you.
That's just life. We'll keep moving. But as
Okay.
long as we're constantly updating our numbers and staying on top of it, that's the main thing I think we want to be concerned
Every
with.
chance I have.
Yes. It's fluid, and
Yeah.
we expect it to be. Okay. All righty.
Okay, so we then have the bank rec,
Okay.
the next page.
Mm-hmm.
We are sitting at about $254 million across all accounts.
Yes.
About $138 million of that is general fund, which is what all of our discussion is about there.
Right.
We do that to, ensure completeness and make sure we're tying out everything properly. We also have attached an investment review from our largest investment company. So we invest with Red Tree, Star Ohio, and then we have the balance of our general fund money in Huntington, which is like our operating money that day-to-day needs. What this is showing is that through the first quarter, the Red Tree investment money netted about $435,000. We plan to make, we are estimating that we'll make about 2.2 in there, and we're right on track to do that this year. Overall, just in general, we're projecting $2.7 million in investment income this year across all funds.
Great.
We're right on track for that.
Wonderful. And I appreciate you providing this information.
That's all for the monthly report.
Yes.
Unless you have any
If
questions.
there's questions from committee members, Dr. Maldonado?
Not a question, but a comment. I want to say that I really appreciate, I will acknowledge this was not exactly specifically what you intended, but I want to acknowledge that I appreciate that I see the hard work that you put into this. And it is, for those of you watching at home, it's literally his job to predict the future with millions of dollars. And it's not easy, and there might not be one clear right answer, and that's what I'm learning here and seeing from you is you saw an answer and you went back and reworked it and brought us an answer that you think is more usable for us, and so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course, yeah.
Member Harrison?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is there any projections that concern you?
They look accurate. I keep saying I'm digging into the details, and I am. I'm line by line going through and making sure that what was there before I took over makes sense.
Okay.
And it's just there's a lot. So in the time I have, like last night, as I was sitting there going through the operating stuff, I'll let you know if I see anything, and we'll have to tweak the forecast if we find anything. And I'm hopeful that we'll find something. That's positive.
That's positive.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. That goes in the good direction.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so if there's no more questions from the committee members, we will move on to, you have a section here now called miscellaneous.
Yeah, I thought instead of having a million slides with various topics, like one-liners, we could just run through, there's a bunch of things going on in the finance department every week. I thought I could just touch on them, and if you have questions, we could discuss it. So first off, we have the performance audit engagement letter did come back.
Okay,
The cost is going to be $114,000.
the cost is going to be
$114,000.
$114,000.
I will forward you the engagement letter. I was advised by council to send it back and get something changed, and then we'll get it into the rotation, and you can approve it or not at the next board meeting.
Board meeting.
Not the third, but the one after that. So that,
So the second meeting in November
yeah,
is when you will bring the engagement letter, okay?
I'll try to get it for the third, but we're already way past the deadlines.
Right.
And, yeah, so.
Okay.
And then our regular financial audit is ongoing. They've come in about a month ago, and my team is pulling data constantly. Deb's also in the middle of pulling data for them. It seems to be going well. We are answering all the questions and making sure they're happy. That's all we can do. So, any questions on the financial audit?
Any questions from committee members? So when we receive the engagement letter, will we see exactly what we have agreed upon that the auditors will review?
Yes.
And
So the
look
performance
into-
audit engagement letter details everything that they plan to do and the costs associated with that.
With each one? Will it give an estimated time of completion?
I did not notice that in there, nor a time of
A
like a
start.
start date. Yeah.
Okay.
So they did say it was going to be potentially 6 months before they could even get started.
All right. And the final comment is that at one point you mentioned that the board we can meet with the auditors to just talk generally about some areas and some concerns.
Those meetings are not covered by sunshine law. So the entire board could meet with the auditor and discuss where they're at, what they're working on now, and it wouldn't have to be an open public meeting.
Well, I don't mind it being an open public meeting. I just want to make sure that we get an opportunity to do this. So whether it's the total board or the finance committee, at least one group of us, the finance committee, but I suspect the total board would want to be engaged and involved in that conversation.
Okay, and as
Again,
they...
I don't mind. I think it would be fine to be open to the public, but we would like to set that up.
Okay. Yeah, I'll work with them on how that works, like how much time they spend before we schedule one.
Okay,
When they're working on that.
sounds good.
I wanted to touch on the JBR situation. So we had scheduled a meeting, but we have pushed that back a little bit as the legal counsel from the city and our legal counsel discuss a new agreement arrangement. They'd like to bring that before we get together. So there needs to be some sort of agreement that we would have a reason to be meeting to talk about. Because the current agreement has ended, and it only applied up through the CLC building period. And the new one, our new one would have to start up now.
Okay. Pastor Harrison, I know you have something.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I have, and for the record, I'm also speaking to Superintendent Outley, who's in the meeting. The JBR, the agreement between the city and the district, and you mentioned that the city's attorneys and our legal counsel are looking at the agreement. And I think it's, I want to put it on the table that we would like to see an agreement, what we're looking at, the agreement, before it's presented to us as a finished product that we say yes or no to, because I think there's some historical data and knowledge that we want to be sure that we're agreeing to. That's what's presented in front of us is not a finished product, but we are part of that process.
Madam Superintendent, did you?
Yeah, a draft that
Right,
can
that's what I was going to say, a
vet.
draft that we could
Yeah.
bring forth.
And just for the public, Madam Superintendent, would you explain what the agreement generally does?
This would give us guidance on how we're going to operate without the state portion, because when we originally had the LFI funds, it was a portion from the state, a portion from the city, and then the schools. And we are no longer under that agreement, so we need a new agreement.
And this is dealing with our community learners, with our
Yes.
community learning
Yeah.
centers.
Yes. And the other piece that we did not hear about was the arbitrage that
Yes.
they wanted that to be also settled, because then each body would have to vote on the use of the funds. So that needs to also take place.
Yeah, well, what opinion is that each body, I mean, the voters have already voted on the purpose of the funds. And I understand that the mayor wants city council to vote
Correct.
on. That's what the mayor wants city council to do. I don't know if we're really actually required to do that because it's already, the voters have already voted that the community learning centers, the levy money
Is for schools.
shall come to the schools, and the schools are the only one in the business of community learning centers. And so I think it is the money that will come to the school. However, that's fine.
Yeah, so
I
that
think
agreement
that's-
would be the mechanism that they could allow us to use that money with. That's,
Well,
we gotta get that
let me just make it
arbitraged.
very clear. It's not them allowing us. The voters have already voted and said that these funds are to go to community learning centers.
Correct.
Correct.
And we have passed our resolution saying that this school
It's going to
will
be
be a
CLC.
community learning center, and therefore the money will come to us. But in cooperation and working with the city, we want to do everything that we can to make it a smooth transition. The bottom line is that we want to make sure that the money comes to Akron Public Schools and our community learning center. But it's not as if we're seeking their permission to do so. The voters have already given us the permission to do so. But I understand what you're saying, Treasurer, and that's nice of you and the superintendent.
so you had asked me about Steve Keenan. We did file all of your requests with the city prosecutor, the IRS, the state auditor's office, and the Ohio Ethics Commission, and the IRS. They've all been filed. We have not heard back anything yet, but that's all been done.
So just to make sure clarifications, and the treasurer's making reference to the fact that the board did vote to refer items to any authorities that may be able to look at a situation that we wanted to see if there's anything else that we should be concerned about within the school system as it relates to how we handle our monies. And so those referrals have been made, and you have not heard anything back from them. Okay?
Correct. That's all the miscellaneous updates I have tonight.
Okay.
So I'm going to move on to,
I went to APS financial facts. All right.
I just wanted to touch on the payroll
Okay.
numbers. Just it's near and dear to my heart. I've done this for the last 7 years, so I thought you might find it interesting. You can see here that the total wages and benefits we processed for the last 3 years there. Last year it was $310 million. We paid taxes of $31.4 million. We paid retirement contributions of $31.8 million. In 24, we're using 24 because those are the W-2s. We're not done with this year yet, so to be consistent with the next page, which shows our processing numbers. So the types of payrolls we process up there, we processed 147. You can see I've got that slightly down. We used to do 20 or 48 biweekly pays. I removed an entire biweekly pay and just do 26 now. We've also reduced number of supplemental pays. We used to do 11. Now we did 7. We have it down to 5. So we're trying to make that more streamlined. We've talked about everybody going to 24 pays because you can see the number of processes that is, and you can only imagine what that calendar looks like.
Yeah.
Having the semi-monthly and the biweekly every other week coming due. So it's a lot of coordinating effort and with HR and our team. And so these are the number of in the middle there, the ACH's processed. That's our electronic pay numbers. We processed 109,633 of those. And then we've got our checks way down because they're not as secure. So we're working on getting that to 0. We're down to 1,272. So that's a total of 110,905 pays we processed last year.
When you
Which
say
is-
our checks, you mean physical checks? So you're saying that we don't just deposit direct deposit everyone?
We do. So the ACHs, those are electronic deposits, the 109,633 in the middle there. That's the number of pay checks electronically delivered
Okay,
2024.
okay.
And
So
we
that-
only had to pass out 1,272 paper checks.
Okay,
We're slowly trying to remove that. We have an option. We think that we'll be able to do away with that completely. And that number that comes out to about 7 paychecks an hour worked just throw that out there. It's an interesting fact. And we also issued 4,718 W-2s last year.
okay. Now, 1,272 checks, those are errors, unusual situations that you had?
No, some employees want a paper check still. And there may be certain scenarios they're in where they can't get a bank account. So that's the solution we're looking at, to give them a card that they can be paid on instead. We just haven't found the one we like yet, because I don't want any fees. I don't want our employees to be able to borrow on that. So I'm trying to find that option. We'll get there. But yeah, it's just the checks are just not safe. People copy them
Right.
and submit them, so we've pretty much gotten away from that. And that's all I had. I just thought you might find that if you find this kind of stuff interesting, I can populate slides like this for every finance meeting where we can talk about another area of the school district. And that's
I don't know for other committee members if they find this interesting or not. I actually do, but
okay.
I don't know.
I mean, if I'm boring
they
you to
do.
death, I won't do that again. But if you do find it, it's something
I think it's good stuff. I mean, I'm amazed that 1,272 people still get paper checks within our system.
It's 1,272 checks.
Checks,
I don't know how many
not necessarily people.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe 12.
How many times the same person got the physical
Yeah,
checks?
yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting, and probably not every committee meeting, but maybe every 6 months or so, or a
Okay,
quarter or so, we'll talk about these types of things, because this is all saving money for us. The number of various
Trying to streamline everything.
transactions that
course.
the least number of transactions that we can make. I understand that's saving money for the system. So, thank you. We appreciate it.
Of course, I'm going to turn it over to Deb Folk now.
Okay, let me do that if you don't
Oh,
mind.
sorry.
Thank you. So if there's no more questions from the committee members for the treasurer, then we will go into, we're going to talk about the construction update.
Good evening.
Thank you, Madam.
Chairman Sykes, Member Molnar, Member Harrison, Superintendent and Treasurer. The first one I wanted to give you an update on is Pfeiffer and Miller South. And if you give me a minute, it should, whoops. Okay, technology is just so fun. All right, this is a slightly different slide, but really what was important, and I have Zach, the first update is for Pfeiffer Miller South. And we were at the Planning Commission meeting and presented for the certificate of starting the construction with the Planning Commission meeting. They did approve this, so now their next section is a public comment time that is prior to seeking prior approval. And in talking to Mr. Antonucci after the meeting, he felt that this could be sometime in November. We actually need this approval to allow the project to go forward. But the one thing I wanted to give you tonight, if I can get them, are the first views that Zach presented at the meeting. Oh, yay, it worked. These are the outside views for the front of the new Pfeiffer Miller South complex. And this is the actual front view, and you will see, as you're looking at it, I want you to look at that beautiful entrance. It is a dual entrance. So as I stand here and you look at it, the building to your left will be the Pfeiffer location for the complex, and the building to your right will be the Miller South one. Then I also have Well, Blaine, really? Okay. That's good. Maybe I found the thing you didn't want to find, right? Oh. Scott, can you come up and give me a hand, please? Where'd he go? Where'd he go to? Oh, thanks. All right, so now I have view 2 of the entrance again from another angle. And that is actually showing, this is one of the questions that Pastor Harrison had earlier. This is the actual parking lot. And you're coming in off of Battles, and you will be proceeding down past the building. So what you're seeing at this corner of this presentation is the actual Miller South side of the building. Now, let's go back here. Okay. Nope, it doesn't want to do that either. There it goes. Hello. Next one over. There we go. There we go. Okay, and then I have a third one for you also. And this is also from Battles. So we just wanted you to see, we took these to the meeting. We got very good comments about the colors and items. So we're very, very excited that this project is moving forward and hope to get you a final construction permit to move forward. The reason this is important is because the actual property is zoned residential, and you need to have this other permit to allow the school to be built on the property. And if you had any questions for Zach, I did bring him with me tonight. Any questions that you're more than welcome to ask.
Member Harrison?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a quick clarification or a clarifying question. It
Yes,
was
sir.
my understanding that all schools are built in residential areas, and so that's a common practice that you have to get the dual zoning.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
I did want to advise you that the next community meeting for this project is being held on January 14th of 2026, and we will be using the Kenmore Community Center again, and it is from 5 to 7 p.m. And we have worked with the superintendent, and we're looking for a groundbreaking the second week of March. For those of you who would like to know dates, it's between March 9th through March 14th, and we're working through the superintendent to work with the mayor's office to have an official groundbreaking.
Okay.
My second update for you this evening
Before
is...
you go any further on this one, let me just say that
Yes,
I know that we keep saying Pfeiffer Miller South, and as people start to hear that, it kind of starts to become the name of the school, and I know we have not officially named the school, so that is just what you were calling it now, but it is not the official name that the board has agreed upon.
That is correct.
Just to clarify that, and not to make anyone think that we get down the road and then all of a sudden things are changing.
I understand.
Okay. All right.
The second one I have is an update on the North High construction project. Attached here is the presentation that was provided by Moody Nolan, who are the design professionals, at the meeting that was held on October the 9th. It is already on the website, and anybody who would like to look at that presentation is welcome to do so. I'm not going to go through it all because it was very well done, and we actually even had an interactive meeting where we could take comments that night. We took the form from that night and also made it available, and I have attached it here again. We took out this particular QR code, but we have now got this also on the website, and we can make comments through that. Mr. Principal Morrison has also given it to his staff again. So we also will present to you next the fact that we received 8 vendor responses to the RFQ seeking an owner's representative for this project. They came in on Monday, the 13th of October. The APS and legal counsel reviewed the responses, It was determined that one vendor could not move forward as they did not respond correctly to what was requested. So therefore, we had a remaining 7 vendors that were fully vetted and determined their rankings, and we are presenting to the board at the November 3rd meeting a resolution will be forthcoming seeking approval of the rankings. And we have gone over that with internal legal counsel as well this morning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Okay. Come on. Help me here. All righty. No, I don't want to add text. I do love these programs.
But all of this is on the website,
Yes.
including the model pictures for
Yes,
for
absolutely.
Middle South and
Yes,
Fife.
they
Okay.
were added.
Great.
Okay.
And when we say website, could you say exactly what is the address for the website?
It is www.akronschools, and it is all one word, .com.
Okay.
Excuse me for a minute.
www.akronschools.com. So they
Mm-hmm.
can go and they can see exactly what we're talking about and what you're presenting to us today.
That is correct.
Great. Okay.
The next update I have for you is on the Booktel CLC Stadium construction project.
Okay.
Following the board's approval of the CMR vendor rankings that occurred at the 10-6 meeting, contract negotiations with the #1 ranked firm were begun and recently completed. A recommendation will be added to the board meeting of November the 3rd, seeking final approval of the vendor's negotiated contract for the board to approve. This is an exciting part of this process because this will now move our design and our CMR to move forward with an actual starting of the construction with a hopeful ending date and opening in August of 2026. And then the final update I have this evening, as you all remember, we unfortunately lost the Ellett Fieldhouse due to a fire. And Paul Davis representative, who was the construction manager provided by the insurance vendor, is now handling that restoration. And they are meeting with the athletic coaches. The funding has come in to secure the replacement of the equipment lost due to the fire. Some of it was reclaimed, but others were not. So they're meeting for us to make the selection. And at this time, I can advise we feel that this whole project will be done by mid-December of 2025.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions from committee members? Member Molinar?
Thank you. Not a question, but a comment of clarification. For anyone who is watching and would like to visit the website, I didn't expect anyone to have it memorized, but the pathway to find it is exactly what Ms. Volk said, the akronschools.com, but then you have to go to About APS, then Departments, Facility Services, and then there's the link for the APS construction projects. So that way people don't have to spend time
Okay.
searching.
All right. Superintendent?
Thank you. Thank you, Member Molinar. I was going to actually have Scott come up and demonstrate very quickly. There's another way that we put it on the landing page
Great.
that we thought may be a little easier for our public to get to.
Okay. Great. No, that's
But it's
good.
the same address.
It's www.akronschools.com.
And then if you scroll down, you should see it right there where it says building projects on the bottom right.
Okay.
So just same, as soon as you get there, scroll. We wanted it to be easier
Yes.
and not have to remember to go to departments and all
Right.
of that.
Right.
So yeah, you could just scroll down. And then when they click on a link, it should take them to the information for each school.
I have a question about
Wonderful.
North.
Wonderful. Member Harrison?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question about the North build. While we were at North, when we had the open house, a lot of people asked about the artwork at the top of the older building. Have we given any thought to incorporating that into the new build?
Actually, that has come up in the discussion with the design professionals, and see if we could take some of that terracotta off of the building in what we did similarly to, say, Garfield. If you remember, that terracotta went into the building and is along the wall, along the gym and the library. We have done the same thing at Forest Hill. So one of the requests that night was, if you go up to the main entrance, can we save the Viking ship? That is a large rendering. It'll depend on what happens, but yes, the design professionals heard that and would like to consider it. That is a restoration part of this, and sometimes they do come off very easily, but for the age of them, sometimes they're fragile and they break. So that will be a process talked about during the upcoming design and process and working with the eventual CMR.
Okay, so if it's any way possible, then
We will try.
It will happen if that's
Yes.
any way possible. All right, if there's nothing else, did you have anything you want to add? No? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we will move on to board members' event information. I think we've seen that. Unless there's something, Mr. Treasurer, that you want to add to that, we'll move on. Is there any unfinished business? If there's no unfinished business, is there any new business? If there's no new business, then may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All righty. So today, we're going to give you back 16 of your minutes. Thank you. We appreciate it.